What's up YouTube? This is Tyler Kirkwood. I just want to make a video today about the stock market. The stock market today, the Dow Jones is up, last time I checked, 780 points. Yesterday it was down 660 points. Basically to me this says that everybody on Wall Street has no clue what's going on. They don't know what the hell is going on, to be honest. All this volatility reminds me of 2007, 2008, the stock market crash. The reason it was up so much today is because a jobs report said there was 300,000 jobs added, I believe in the month of December. And the thing that's interesting about this is the government does not differentiate at all between part-time or full-time employment. So if these are a lot of seasonal jobs and they're part-time, low-paying jobs, they're obviously going to end once the season's over. But yet Wall Street celebrates like this is some miracle, miraculous happening. And the Dow just skyrockets. It makes no sense whatsoever. I looked today and I was like, this is insanity. Down 660 points one day, up 780 points the next day. Makes no sense whatsoever. So to me, this is just another clue, all this added volatility, that the stock market crash basically is going to be probably worse than 2007, 2008. I've been researching the Depression from 1929, and I just foresee it getting to that point in the future. Jim Rogers, a famous investor, once said that trade wars lead to real wars. And the thing I find interesting about the 1929 Depression is that basically led to the rise of Hitler. So, in my mind, this could eventually lead to a war with China. And China has 1.3 trillion people. The United States has like 300 or 400 million. So they have an additional trillion people than us. If we went to war with China and they have an additional trillion people, I mean, you do the math. That's pretty difficult to be confident in your abilities to win a war. I know we have more technology and better weapons probably, but man, I mean, the odds seem severely stacked against us. I also wanted to talk about Trump. From the research I've done, Trump has declared bankruptcy 6 times. And I find this incredibly frustrating because I have student loan debt that I'd like to declare bankruptcy on. And the government does not allow you to declare bankruptcy for student loan debt. They don't allow you to declare bankruptcy for Internal Revenue Service debt. But Donald Trump has declared bankruptcy 6 times for hotels. So to me it just seems morally wrong that the leader of the country has declared bankruptcy 6 times, but the average student is legally unable to declare bankruptcy. I just feel like our current debt in the country is $22 trillion. And I feel like Elon Musk recently said there are no coincidences. He quoted on Twitter that if you spell Evian, the first bottle of water, backwards, it spells naive. And I found that pretty interesting. So I don't believe there's a coincidence between the fact that our current president has declared bankruptcy 6 times and our national debt is 22 trillion. Basically, in my mind, the United States of America is going to go bankrupt. How the hell are we ever going to pay off $22 trillion? Just servicing the debt. The government is having to raise the debt ceiling just to be able to service the debt, just to be able to pay the interest. If we're having a difficult time just paying the interest, how are we ever going to pay off $22 trillion? Okay, now what happens when all these other countries figure out that we're not going to be able to pay them back? How can that not lead to war? How does it not lead to war with China? I just don't understand how this cannot lead to a war with China. I hope it doesn't happen, man. I really don't want to see that. I don't want to live through that. I've been fortunate enough to never be involved with a war, and I don't ever want to be involved with a war. My grandfather was in World War II, and he never had anything good to say, never even really wanted to talk about it. So, I think there's a lot of stuff happening. China is starting to take Americans. There's a former Marine that's being held captive in China right now. And a lot of people believe this is retaliation for the United States holding, I believe, the president or the CEO of Huawei, technology company that makes phones, I believe. So the United States takes a rather important person from China and is taking legal action against them. China retaliates by taking a Marine and also a Canadian citizen and is not planning to return them anytime soon. So, in all honesty, this is almost the beginning of a declaration of war. When you take captives and you're holding people, that's almost the beginning of a declaration of war. But yet, if you turn on the news, everything's great. There's a lot of news that is very critical of Donald Trump, CNN especially. Then you turn to Fox News and they're completely supportive of Trump. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, man. It's very hard to tell what's actually going on. But the thing I find interesting is the confrontations between Trump and Pelosi are just incredibly childish. It's like one person saying you're a bad person, and the other person saying, no, you're a worse person, and it just goes on and on and on. Now, this lowering of class or civilized behavior basically is the beginning in my mind. First, it starts with the politicians not having good civilized behavior. Then it starts with the economy. The economy starts crashing. Now, what happens if they turn off food stamps? Are there going to be riots, stuff like that? What happens if the dollar crashes? What happens if we get into a war with China? All these unanswered questions, and the government doesn't talk about this whatsoever. They just say, we're eventually going to get to a trade deal. We're eventually going to fix this problem. To me, I just see more and more stuff getting worse, man. I don't see anything getting better. I don't understand how this isn't going to end terribly, but nobody wants to talk about that. How many times do you watch the financial news and they talk about the possibility of a depression? They don't even want to admit that there's a possibility of a recession. I looked up all the indices today, and the Dow is down 13% from its peak. The NASDAQ is down 17% from its peak. The S&P 500 is down 13% from its peak. The Russell 2000 is down 20% from its peak. So the Russell 2000 is technically in recession territory. I believe recession is defined as over a 20% drop from its highs for an extended period of time. So we're 4 months into the 20% drop on the Russell 2000. Fortunately, the other indices, I don't know if you'd say fortunately, luckily I guess, they have recovered from being over 20% down. So it makes sense because the smaller companies would have the most trouble. They would be the ones to give the warning signs. The smaller businesses, they would go out of business first, way before the larger businesses. So the Russell 2000 being 20% down, I feel like basically is saying that the other indices are going to return to being 20% down and probably be much worse. In my mind, I honestly see the stock market going down to like 5,000. I see gold going up to like 5,000. The gold to Dow ratio being 1-to-1, similar in the first Great Depression. And I feel like silver is going to go maybe gold to silver ratio 1-to-20. But really, if you actually research the gold available above ground and the silver available above ground, it's 1-to-1. Silver is obviously mined a lot more easily and at a higher rate than gold, but it's used in industry. It's used in electronics. I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos. But in all reality, if the above ground supply of gold and silver is 1-to-1, and the Dow to gold ratio should be 1-to-1, you could hypothetically say that the Dow to silver ratio should be 1-to-1. Okay, now what's today's current price? The Dow is something around 24,000. Silver is at like $15.60. Now what if the ratio goes 1-to-1? Obviously, most people would say that's impossible. I find it interesting that Buffett invested in silver. Warren Buffett, the famous investor, and he had millions of ounces. And then the government came to him and said, we really don't want you to do this anymore. And then all of a sudden they started the SLV, Silver Holding Trust, where you can buy on the stock market. Now, this is really bad news for everybody, and the reason for this is if it's traded on the market, paper silver, it can easily be shorted and manipulated. So all these people can keep the price down significantly. So why would the government want to keep the price of silver down? Well, according to the US Constitution, gold and silver are the only lawful money. Any other money is illegal, according to the US Constitution. Now, how many times have laws been passed against the US Constitution and having legal money? Many, many times. But I think the whole reason the government wants to suppress the price of silver is basically because the current system is just paper money. Now, how hard is it to make paper money? How hard is it to add digits? It's pretty easy. Now, how hard is it to mine silver from the ground? Very difficult. So which is easier to control? Paper and digital money, or physical precious metals according to the US Constitution? Obviously, the former. So to me, it's a way to control the people and manipulate the people, and the people have no idea what's going on. How many people do you think actually own gold or silver? I mean, out of the population, it's got to be a significantly, maybe 1 in a million or something. It's just insane how few people even know what's going on. So, I know this video is getting kind of long, but I kind of wanted to explain everything, do it in one video instead of a couple videos today. Basically, I just want you guys to take away from this that I appreciate you watching, by the way. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you actually watch the whole video, that's amazing. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, today the volatility shows to me that there's a crash coming. Gold and silver have been going through the roof. Gold just broke $1,300. The gold to silver ratio is going down. Last time, or when I started watching it, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, it was at 85. 1 to 85 gold to silver. Now it's down somewhere around 80. So silver is catching up to gold slowly but surely. Now, will the ratio ever reach 1 to 1? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But in all honesty, it should be about 1 to 40, which should double the price of silver immediately. That would make sense. So I think that's something that's going to happen very soon. The price of silver is going to double. It's going to go from around 15 to 30. Gold around 1,300. The last high in gold was 1,800 in 2011. So I think that's the short-term next move up, is to get about 1,800 or 2,000 on gold. And the last high on silver was around $50 in 2011. So I think first silver will double to 30. It'll close the gold to silver ratio, and then after that happens, after the gold to silver ratio is cut in half from 80 to 40, and silver's around $30. I think the next move up will be $50 from where it tested in 2011. Keep in mind, this is 7 years ago. Silver hit a high of $50 in 2011, 7 years ago. So in that time, I mean, imagine how much money's been added to the economy. All the bailouts. There's like $4 trillion in 2008, 2009 added to the economy. So every time more money is added to the economy, each dollar is worth less and less and less. In theory, gold and silver should be worth more, way more. Now the reason they're not is because of all the shorts in the market, in the derivatives market. Now, when the derivatives market explodes, I don't know. I don't know when that's going to happen. But I think once the stock market starts crashing, derivatives are going to follow. The derivatives market is so enormous, it's unbelievable. But once all these shorts stop shorting gold and silver, which is going to happen eventually, man, all fiat currencies, all paper money fails over time. Gold and silver have not failed for like 5,000 years. It's insane. It's always been money, man. But so basically, what I'm seeing happening is a severe stock market crash that'll eventually be termed a depression, and gold and silver going up significantly. And hopefully, we will avoid a war with China, because that's my main worry. A lot of people worry about North Korea, and really North Korea to me isn't even much of a threat compared to China. But that's another possible thing that could happen, man. Like all of a sudden North Korea just decides to drop a nuclear bomb on everybody, and then a war breaks out with North Korea. The real question is what would happen with China. So yeah, I guess just pay close attention to these numbers that come out about the economy and how Wall Street reacts. Because Wall Street is reacting in an insane fashion right now. Up 600, or down 600, up 700. We're still down significantly from the peaks. I feel like nobody knows what's going on. I honestly wonder if the stock market is even real sometimes. Like, I honestly wonder, man, is the government seriously, like, could the government just be making up numbers for the stock market, and then everybody thinks it's actually a free market? Yeah, I don't know, man. I just wonder sometimes, because a lot of this stuff makes no sense whatsoever. I just wonder how much manipulation is going on in the stock market. Anyway, this is getting to be a pretty long video. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Have a good one.